Howdy folks, Nathan Adlin here with the Fast Lane Truck, and over my shoulder is the brand new Ram ProMaster, and we finally got one up to Colorado. What we're going to do next? Well, you're going to get an up-close and personal view of this vehicle as an everyday driver before we start saturating it with all these little work things that we like to do. It's coming up next on the Fast Lane Truck. You know the Pentastar engine, and that's exactly what's here. It's a 280 horsepower V6 that puts out 258 pound-feet of torque, and it's hooked up to a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, granted, it is a regular V6 that you would find in many, many vehicles that Chrysler puts together. I'm sorry, Fiat Chrysler, or is it Chrysler Fiat? Speaking of that, this is actually a Fiat vehicle that basically has a couple of little badges on it, and what's interesting about it is it's a front-wheel drive van. There are a variety of different types of ProMasters you can get. They have different lengths and different heights. This one is the high roof, so that's 8.4 feet. Yeah. And on top of that, lengthwise, wheelbase, 136 inches. So this is actually on the smaller side of ProMasters. You can get much longer ones. And this is the 1500. So its overall rating, because of its suspension, is, well, it can tow up to 5,100 pounds when properly equipped. A van like this is all about options because there are so many different ways it can be used, right? This van has a couple $1,000s worth of features, including the wooden composite floor, which I highly recommend because it also helps keep some of the noise out, and there's panels inside. These plastic panels also help with noise and kind of clean up the look. We also have navigation, and we have a backup camera. They are options. Really should be standard on a vehicle like this. Oh, by the way, that navigation screen, it's a little bit on the small side. Fortunately, Chrysler and Fiat put the camera up top, on top of the van, and not on the doors, so that way you can open up the doors and still back up and see what you want to see behind you. And another good thing about it is that, well, frankly, a van like this, even with the windows, you can't see out of it very well, so getting the backup camera system, really, really recommend it. Unfortunately, it doesn't come standard, and it really should. You may notice that there's a really steep rig on the front, and it's interesting because all you need to do is envision in front of your feet, where your feet are actually touching the pedal and the dead pedal, about another 3 feet, and that is the end of the bumper. So there is some pretty good space. Highway ride, not bad. And this model has the little side panels on the inside, and it actually does help with noise and vibration. So does the composite wood floor. Unfortunately, the composite wood floor is also extremely slippery. So if you have cargo on there, you better make sure it's loaded down and mounted to the floor. Fortunately, there are tie downs to allow you to do that. Lots of interesting little tidbits here and there on the ProMaster, including, if you have the high roof, this neat little parcel shelf. You have 406 cubic feet of cargo space in this configuration and 3,794 pounds of payload capacity. That is really impressive as well. It's interesting because when you think about a front-wheel drive V6 van, you think, okay, well, it's not going to be doing very well with any of that power, but my God, these numbers are really, really good. Right by the front door is the gas door, and it takes regular fuel. We tested this vehicle on a regular loop, and we got 17.1 miles per gallon combined, and that was with a completely empty van. So that's not too terribly bad for the class. It holds 24 gallons, and we estimate an over 400 mile range. there are more numbers for you. Check this out. First of all, this is really cool. Look at that. All the way out of the way. Little latch right here. All the way out of the way. 56 inches wheel well to wheel well. 76 inches height. And 73.4 inches from here to here. Altogether, it's really, really roomy, and they do a surprisingly good job on having things get out of your way so you can move stuff in. There is a mixed bag when it comes to driving the Ram ProMaster because there's so much good about it, but there are a few things that are just downright weird. In terms of good, some of the best outward vision I've ever had in a van before. The mirrors are bloody massive, and they can retract automatically. And these port windows are massive, easy to see through. I know exactly where the front end is. I have a pretty good idea where the wheels are, so I'm able to maneuver very, very easily. And in terms of overall layout, well, everything is within reach, and it's a fairly comfortable seat. But there's a big caveat here. Steering wheel. Well, it has an adjustment. Telescoping, great. You know what the problem is? It's only telescoping. That's right. You can't adjust its angle. And that's a problem for certain people who are driving this vehicle. For me, it's not so bad. I guess I'm Italian deep down inside. Because right about there, I can drive it around. But there are some people who frankly need it to drop down and be in their lap or have it higher. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that it only goes back and forth. All right, nice and easy on the accelerator. There we go. By the way, the handbrake is located down here on the left side of the driver. That's European because, well, they're smarter. They know what they're doing. You would think, if you're really tall and driving this parcel shelf can be a little bit of a hindrance. I'm just under 6'2", 6'1 and a quarter or whatever when I'm not slouching, and it's actually not too bad, but I could see Roman having a hard time. Not that he would ever voluntarily drive a working van. Overall performance is pretty good. I really like how maneuverable this thing is. You want numbers? I'm going to give you some numbers. This width, 49 inches. Height, 70. Length inside this particular model, 123 inches. On the roof, you could put up to 400 pounds. It's not too bad. And this is really important. 21 inches load-in height. That's really low, and the floor in here is almost completely flat. In fact, the only place it isn't is where the wheel wells are, and they're pretty far apart too. I hope you liked this presentation of the Ram ProMaster because there's a lot more coming. We're going to put this thing through the ringer. For the Fast Lane Truck, this is Nathan Adlin, and I'm going to see you next time. But wait! Don't forget to go to tfltruck.com for news, views, and reviews. Ciao. Now, for those of you who don't know, my buddy Andre used to work with the KGB in Russia during the Soviet era. As such, he felt that this would be a perfect van for us to drive around and take pictures of spy cars. Go figure.
Натан, что ты делаешь?
I know.
Ты все мне испортил.
Da. There are a lot of little weird things here and there when it comes to actually driving the Ram ProMaster, and some of them are a little befuddling. Let's say you want to tilt the seat back. Voila! Let's say you want to go up a little higher. Boom! Voila! And let's say you want to move it back. Well, that's just simple. It's a little thing right here. The problem is, there are things that Americans aren't quite used to, such as moving this seat back and forth, because you got to twist this and you got to push, and you really need to do it from the outside. But there's something else that's very interesting, and I'm going to show you that next. Check this out. I was telling you about this. This is really interesting. If the seats lean back a little bit, once you twist it 20 times, then you can do this. This is really interesting. What? Okay. Now, the only position that this can possibly benefit is a gynecologist if you have your feet up. I can't figure out why the seat would do this. It's bizarre. But it's also kind of comfortable in some strange way.